Hey gang, it's time for Make Boise Better guns analysis. Guns, gun rights, gun controls, how do you prevent shootings? That's the topic. So before we get going, I'm going to do the usual Make Boise Better introduction in case you're unfamiliar. And I'm going to be drinking my coffee since it is early. Trying to get this video finished for those of you that are probably checking out the analysis today. All right. So we're going to start here on the Make Boise Better homepage. So what is Make Boise Better? Well, in its essence, it's the easiest way to be a part of local solutions to important local problems. We make your voice heard and help you make a difference by connecting what you think about important issues to the people that can do something about it. And in the meantime, making all of us better informed so that we can have better discussions. Well, that's vague. How do you do that? We do that through weekly surveys, public results, and analysis. So we're totally transparent about the data that we find, and we put it out there so everybody has it and can use it. So if you want to join us, just click Do Your Part. You'll come to this simple web form to join our mailing list. You'll get emails on Monday with the surveys. You'll have an opportunity to join us on Tuesday for our discussion group. Those are all recorded and posted on YouTube. Yeah, if you want to search Make Boise Better in YouTube, you can see my channel and all the videos that have been posted. And then on Thursday, the analysis comes out. So guns. Guns is our topic for this week. And the reason I wanted to pick this is just because we're coming up to the election, and guns are a big part of, especially in Idaho, I think everywhere actually, like candidates' platforms. It's a big deal, and it's motivating to a lot of people, especially with all the, seems like tragic shootings are happening all the time, and everybody's kind of shocked by them, and we all want them to stop, but we don't know the best way to kind of prevent them. Or maybe we all think we know, but they're different. So anyway, there's a lot of debate, and people are pretty fired up. So in Boise alone, in just the last couple of months, we've seen pretty big demonstrations in the Capitol on both sides of the issue. So yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to get Make Boise Better subscribers involved. What do you think? So on the survey page, and all of our surveys can be found here. I said, let you know they're public. You can find all the resources. So here's the survey questions. They link to, this is exactly what the survey that they found, that anybody that responded saw. And then there's a link to the results, the overall results, so you can see how people answered. And then I mentioned we do a group discussion, so there'll be an Eventbrite page available on our Facebook discussion group. And also, if you take our survey, you'll get directed to this as an opportunity to join us and talk about what we're seeing. And then that recording gets posted to the survey page, and that's available here on YouTube, also in the channel. All right. Let's do the analysis. So the difference between, if you're not familiar, the difference between the survey results and the analysis are, the survey results are always the overall view. So you can see how most people answered the question across everybody. But if you ever wonder how were answers different across different demographics, let's say, for instance, gender or age or political party, that's something that I do on my end, and then tell the story and analysis. So that's what we're going to go over. Here we are. So analysis posts I just mentioned, it was where we use segmentation. So we go another level deeper, another level higher in terms of value and detail on what you can get in the overall results. So let's start with our samples demographics. So this is how the people that responded to this survey broke down. You'll see that there's, ooh, that one didn't get a question mark. Anyway, these gray boxes are people that were not sure where they fall on this question. So how we got this data and they weren't in the survey, it wasn't in this survey, is because I know who answered how on each survey, so I can kind of pull in answers from previous surveys. So we can keep the surveys short and tight and quick for you to answer, but then have all the detail of other questions we might have wanted to ask that we had asked previously. So we're actually even on a male versus female split. We've got quite a bit more Democrats, though we've got some Republicans and a fair amount of neither party. Boise native, threw this out there. I didn't end up using this thinking it was that meaningful, but we've got, you know, roughly an extra 50% of Boise natives compared to not, and then we've got a fairly large group we're not sure. And then our age range covers the spectrum, but we're weighted heavier on young folks. That's good to know. And then at first glance, like thinking about what I wanted to analyze, I really thought this question was going to be the most important one. This is my hypothesis, is that did you grow up with guns in your home, yes or no? That would basically explain your environment. And often we're a part of our environment, like a product of our environment. So I thought that this would have a big impact on if you feel positively or negatively about guns based on what you've experienced. Turns out, though, that didn't seem to be as big of a factor when I was doing analysis and splitting as political party. So I already mentioned we've got kind of everybody represented here, but we've got less Republicans. So it's a little tricky to do a comparison of Democrat to Republicans. I did it because I thought that was actually the most interesting and most noteworthy way to look at these answers. And that's also the way these problems are being addressed in reality. So I think that was worthwhile. But caveat that if we had twice as many Republicans, it might not be exactly the same finding. You know, it might be a little bit more in one direction or another. So we have to keep that in mind. But let's get started. So the first question was, how many guns are in your home? And we had a kind of a breakdown in thirds. So no, we had a half were saying, I don't have a gun. And then is basically the other half was basically saying, I have one gun or I have more than one gun. So those were the groups. We put it like this. These are the people that preferred not to answer the question. And then the rest are in 0, 1, or 2 plus gun categories. So like I said, this grew up with guns, yes or no. I wanted to look at that. And it does look like this is kind of interesting in that if you didn't grow up with guns, you're a lot more likely not to have a gun and a lot less likely to have 2 or more. 1 is about the same. And then if you did grow up with guns, you know, you're a little less likely to have none and twice as much to have 2 or more, or like a collection, which that's in most scenarios probably hunters. And it makes sense to have several guns if you do different types of hunting. Okay, so that was interesting. But like I said, I think the political party affiliation was even more interesting. So here I broke it out. So for all the rest of the charts about political party, coded it by red and blue. Blue is Democrat, red's Republican, gray is neither. They said I'm neither one of these parties. So see how that breaks down. Okay, now it's even way more likely, like if you're a Democrat, that you don't have a gun. 70% of our Democrats reported not having a gun in their home. And then a small group with 2 or more. And then compare that to the Republicans, though. There was only a few that didn't have, percentage-wise, only a couple that didn't have a gun. Most had 1, and a few more had 2 or more. Neither is kind of spread out across the board. There's not as much of a clear pattern. Okay, now that we've kind of gotten through demographics, let's get into our first opinion question. So that was, do you believe that it's safer when more people have guns? This had kind of a gradual decline here from much less safe. So more guns make things more dangerous, much more dangerous. And it kind of declined. And then we had a group that was much safer. And again, I did the upbringing analysis, whether or not you grew up with guns in your home. And that didn't really tell an interesting story. But when I did it by political party again, it really did. So check this out. 90% of the Democrats were in this less safe or much less safe camp. Okay? And then compare that to 80% were not in the less safe group for this question. So you got a bit, and there wasn't a single Democrat that said much safer or even safer, versus there's a big group of Republicans that said much safer, and most of the Republicans were in about the same. It's not, it doesn't change safety, or it doesn't make things more dangerous. So that's pretty interesting. Let's keep going. One of the next things we asked was, what's the best way to prevent mass shootings? Less guns, more police, stricter background checks, better mental health screening, better information sharing across government, and other. So one of the biggest things stands out from this is, look how big other is. 25% of people didn't want to follow my rules of selecting only one. This was a multiple choice, so you can only pick one. So they wrote in a combination of several of these, or they had their own idea on how to prevent mass shootings. So to me, this is actually much bigger use of the other option than any other question that we've had in Make Boise Better thus far. So that stands out to me. This is a really complicated issue for a lot of people, and they didn't feel that it was simple enough to answer just like as what's their top solution. So there are a lot of options here, and breaking it down with segmentation proved to be kind of messy with all the different options. And since there's not clear winner on this, so I didn't do segmentation, though. I'll give you some fun facts. It was only Democrats that voted for less guns. And if you were if you said, I'm neither a Republican or Democrat, you were twice as likely to use the other box. And I think that's because those folks don't want to be put in a box. They're not about the labels. It's complicated. Okay, next question. Do you believe arming teachers would be likely to prevent school shootings? The reason I asked this is because Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, I don't know how you say it. I don't watch the news, I just read. She was proposing using federal tax dollars to fund arming teachers as a way to make kids more safe. So I wanted to ask it, like, what do you think on that? Is that a good idea? Or is it not a good idea? As you can see, overall, definitely had the most votes for it's very unlikely to prevent school shootings, so it's not a good idea. But then we had almost the same amount in each of the other groups. So what's the story there? It's actually partisanship. Check this out. Blue, we've got Democrats, right? Almost everybody's in very unlikely. Not a single Democrat chose very likely or likely. That's like pretty crazy partisanship agreement. The Democrats are really on the same page. Our Democratic response are really on the same page with this. And then check out the Republicans. They're at the other end of the spectrum. So you really got clustering on both ends of the spectrum and very, very little overlap in the middle. And then the neithers are all over. But they were biggest in this very unlikely. All right. Next, we're talking about, are current gun laws effective at preventing shootings? And again, we've got kind of this pleasing trend. Like, it's a nice, pretty chart. It like slopes down from not at all effective to extremely effective. We talked in our group discussion, like, who thinks that our current gun laws are extremely effective at preventing shootings? Like, do they know about the news, or are they just, saying whatever? They're not thinking through this question and answer. They're just, I don't know, towing the NRA party line. I have no idea. But we talked about that in our discussion recording. If you want to check that out here, we puzzled over that for a while, actually. So here we go. It's politics. It wasn't quite as divergent as the last question we talked about, but again, Democrats are almost entirely in this not effective at all or not so effective group, and did not a single vote for it's effective or very effective. That's not really that surprising. Hardly anybody voted for those, but if you did, you were a Republican or, neither party affiliation. So Republicans actually seem a little bit more spread out on this. There's a little less within party agreement on this question. Okay, then we asked about controls for certain types of guns. So I'll just pull that one up really quick. So we asked about hunting rifles and shotguns, handguns, semi-automatic assault weapons, and fully automatic assault weapons. Basically, should they have more controls, the same controls, less controls, or I don't know. And this again was a tricky one to segment across all of those dimensions. So I actually picked specific categories that stood out to me. So handguns. Democrats are again, almost entirely on the same page of more controls, make these harder to get. But then the Republicans are almost all on the same controls. It's fine. Handguns are not the problem. We don't need more controls. If anything, maybe we should have less controls. So that's where the Democrat versus Republican stood. Now let's compare that to the semi-automatic assault weapons. Now this is sometimes in the news about, I think this is the one that maybe has more consensus around, do we need to do a little bit more with this? And actually that seems to be true from these results. So almost everybody now in the Democratic Party, it was already almost everybody, but even more people thought more controls on this. But look at the Republicans. With the handguns, it was the biggest group was in same controls, and you had a couple in more and a couple in less. Now we kind of have this nice trend where the bigger group is in more controls, a few people in same, and less people in less. So maybe the Republicans are actually, at least the ones we heard from, are more open to more controls on this. Maybe they do think there's a problem and that it's a little too easy to get these. So that was interesting because I didn't expect that. Okay, so those are all the charts. I'll just summarize at this point that this is the most partisan issue Make Boise Better has surveyed on yet so far. The results really did show partisanship, where they like the best ways to split out different opinions. And honestly, it was a little, I guess I should have expected that, but it was a little disappointing. I really like to think that not everybody thinks primarily based on political party, and that there's plenty of room for common ground and problem solving across the aisle. And this one really just seems to be your politics. So not other life experiences that are easier to kind of rationalize and talk about. So it makes sense, but I'm a little saddened by that. So here are the comments. I I won't read them all again. There's a lot of, I took the ones that I thought were most interesting and helpful. But I just want to highlight these ones that we've got comments, we got respondents and good comments on both sides of the issue. This is a complicated one, and people are talking past each other. So, for instance, one person said, to the question, what do people pay too much attention to? Quote, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And then like one of the next response was, the guns aren't hurting people, it's the people with the guns that are hurting people. So we've got both sides of that. And I think that's good to keep in mind. It's not like that side, the people on that side of this issue are dumb, uninformed. They have no idea. They should try to educate themselves. It's not that simple. It's not that people don't have facts. And there's another cool comment in here. On this issue, people don't understand themselves at all. And I would say this is the most divisive thing that we've covered. I don't have a solution, but I think one step in the right direction would be doing a little more listening to each other and a little less yelling. But there's not a lot of forums to do that, right? So I think Make Boise Better is a great one. I'm really thankful for the people that responded to this survey. This is a way to have a civil discussion and get some facts that's not just you and people like you. So thanks for that. I'm going to close this up now. If you like this, check out our other analysis posts. We do one every week, so there's a lot of really rich data and findings out there. Last week we did marijuana. We had refreshed our neighborhood analysis. We've got 180 some responses on that now, so that's getting bigger and bigger. We've got a lot of good stuff to check out. And please, if you're reading this or watching this and haven't already, please join us. Like I said, we don't have a lot of great mediums or platforms to have meaningful discussions about important, sticky issues across the aisle where we can learn from each other in a non-combative way. So it's really easy to be a part of the solution. It only takes a few minutes a week, and it can really make a difference in making it clear to all of us what people are thinking, and especially to the people, our experts and leaders and policymakers, that they can do something about this, and it would help them do it if it was clear what people thought. And that's what we can help with. And if you thought our results were skewed because we weren't hearing from enough different types of people, the solution is the same. Join us, respond to our surveys, try to get more people to do that. The more people we have answering, the better picture we'll get, the better discussions, the better impact of our results we can have. So thanks so much. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to talk about abortion, another hot topic. Till then.